So this is no code ways to support your friends, small businesses, passion projects, community, really just any sort of hacky and experimental way to make a difference in your community, whether that's physical or virtual. So hello, this is me. My name is Sarah Lawrence. I have been a freelance graphic designer since 2016, since March 2016. So I'm coming up on 5 years of doing this 100% on my own, which is very fun and very scary, equal parts all the time. As part of my work, I do brand design, marketing collateral, animations, illustration, websites. Okay, maybe I do like way too much stuff, but I can't decide on one thing I like to do. I like to do it all. I went to school for graphic design. My BFA is in graphic design. I don't actually know how to write code by hand at all. So a lot of the website stuff I do is less code based and more visual based. And so a lot of the work I like to do is just stringing stuff together, trying stuff out, and trying to and just trying to help out wherever I can and try new things. So that's a lot of what this is going to be about. So first of all, here are some things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about stuff that I've made without writing any code. And then I'm going to talk about some stuff that other people have made with code, but we're going to talk about ways that you can achieve the same results without code. And then we're going to do breakout sessions and brainstorm some ideas, but don't panic because it's structured and fun. So for those of you who are familiar with Buford Highway, that's awesome. If you are not, Buford Highway is, in a very small nutshell, the international corridor in Atlanta. There are over 300 restaurants to choose from. All of them are amazing, and that can be really difficult to decide where to go or where to visit or what to try. And so a lot of people, never really take that first step. And so I, for several years, worked with an organization called We Love Buhai that kind of aims to make these connections more real. And to kind of like demystify this process, one of the ideas that I had and I pitched was, okay, well, what if we create a card game? Okay, hear me out. We create a card game where if you visit one of the restaurants on this list, Instagram it, like post about it using this specific hashtag that we've set out, we will send you a playing card in the mail of this restaurant. Because that way it breaks it down. It's like 54 cards in a deck. So that breaks it down into 54 places. You have a checklist, you have a deadline, you're going to go for it. And then also the added benefit of posting, using hashtags, increasing awareness and visibility. Everybody wins. So the We Love Buhai executive director was like, sure, let's try it out. And we did. So the way this worked is we had a Google form, just Google form, easy peasy, that players would sign up to play the game. They would give their name, their mailing address, because how are we going to mail you a card if we don't know where you live? And then how are we going to know who you are if you don't tell us your Instagram handle? So we, had a Google form, just gathered all of the important information that we would need to know as part of this game. And then I used an app called Zapier, I believe, or they're called Zaps, but Zapier to basically pull this information into a Google spreadsheet. So every time somebody used the hashtag on Instagram, Zapier would grab it and then put it in the Google spreadsheet. It would also keep track of their handle, their caption, kind of what they said about the place, which would help us figure out if it was like a misfire or something, someone just used the hashtag randomly. And then it would also link directly to their post. So we could go in, we could see the results from the game, and then also mark in the spreadsheet itself whether we've sent them a card and any sort of like background information we needed to know. And throughout the course of the game, it's hard to tell because some people use both hashtags and some people just used one. So throughout the course of the game, we had at least 800 people participating and at most probably about 1,300 people participating. And that's incredible. Those are really cool numbers. It got to the point where Marion said we might have to stop the game early because she was spending all of her time going to the post office to mail cards. It was a really successful project and it was really fun to do. And then, but the thing about that is since it was so much work, I was kind of trying to think about this idea of like, what can I make that gets at the same idea, but doesn't require so much labor for somebody to do all the time. And so what I did a year later in 2019 was create an actual text bot. Like you could text it like an SMS text bot. You would text it for restaurant recommendations, and it would, my head's over the thing. And it would ask you what kind of food you were interested, what type of cuisine you wanted, what time of day, whether you were a vegetarian or not, or if you had any sort of dietary restrictions, and then it would recommend a place. And since I was in the back end writing all of this information, I was also including tips. You know, like El Rey gets really busy on the weekends, so we recommend going early, or you know, making a reservation or something. We could include photos, and then this would just run on its own once we had done that initial work on the front end. And the way that worked is I just kept track of all of this is every single restaurant on Buford Highway in this Airtable, which is kind of like Google Sheets, but way more intense. So I would keep track of everything in Airtable, and then this is what the text bot system looked like. It's literally just a drag and drop visual builder. You don't have to know any code. Got some Airtable fans in the chat. You don't need to know any code for TextIt. All you need to do, if you can make a flowchart, you can make a text bot. It's pretty cool. And for a couple of years, we had this running. And TextIt doesn't have very good metrics. I'm always interested in metrics, but I can tell just from contacts that we had over like several hundred people engaging with this text bot. We had stickers, we put out business cards with the number on it. Like I think maybe mid last year, TextIt changed their pricing model, so it actually ended up costing too much for me to just do this on my own. So you can't text the bot anymore, which is very sad, because it would also, I don't know, you could tell jokes with it and stuff. But this is a really cool system, and you don't need to know any code at all. And then the reason for the season, the reason we're all here is back in, I think, December, a friend of mine tweeted, "Can someone please build a website where I can browse and purchase all of the Atlanta restaurant / bar merch in one place?" And I just was looking at that, and I went, I don't know, why not me? I could probably do that. So I spent all of Christmas Eve morning working on this website. I started from a list of Atlanta restaurants that I already had access to, pulled every single piece of their merch, pulled all the images, and then instead of creating like a merchant, like an e-commerce platform, I didn't like take money or, you know, ship things. What this is basically just a flow through. So you can sort by type of merch. You know, I want to buy hats. Here are all the hats from Atlanta restaurants and bars in Atlanta. And then if you're like, I want this hat from Halfway Crooks, it would just take you to their website to buy it. So I was really just kind of an intermediary and just helped. So to do that, I did just Squarespace. It's just basically set up like blog posts where everything just links out to the original source link. And then unfortunately, way later, like 2 months after launching this, I added Google Analytics, which is super important for the measuring things. But I can see from Squarespace's native analytics that over the course of this project, since December 24th, 2020, over 7,000 people have been to this website. It was covered in Eater. And then around the time it was covered in Eater, I finally added the right Google Analytics code. And so I can see that 800 people have clicked on links to go purchase merch on different websites since then, which is really, really cool to see, because all I want to do is just provide a way for people to access this information. And then 2 ideas that I have not done, but want to include here because I think they're cool and I still want to do them. It just ended up being a resources thing. This is they're 2 text bots because I just love text bots. So this is a text bot that I was working on a couple of years ago because I like the idea of being able to communicate with your city council members, but it can be kind of daunting to figure out what to say to them, and you know, what is something that you can say to city council versus, you know, the governor, or it's like, who do I talk to about what kind of situation? And so the idea behind this text bot is you would talk to it, you would say like, I have a specific issue, and it would help you craft a message that makes sense to send to your city council member. it would help you figure out who that person is who represents you, and then kind of format that all into an email, and then send the email on your behalf, and then CC you a copy so you can see what's up and they can respond directly to you. And I actually tested this with a member of city council. I like made him go through it. And it was like it's a pretty seamless, cool thing. You know, you could just have like a phone number out there that's like, you know, do you want to talk about a sidewalk? Do you want to talk about a street light? I don't know, city stuff. And then this is just a really cool way to communicate with city council. And then the other idea, this is another like city thing. I just love city stuff. I don't know if you remember, if anyone remembers the service Cha-Cha from like 10 years ago, where you would, it's basically like Google, where you would just text it and say like, what's the average wing speed velocity of a sparrow? And it was just somebody would on the other end would look it up and tell you. This is kind of that concept as a text bot. So the zoning signs in the city are kind of complicated to read. You know, you might see a variance sign and you know that somebody has requested a variance for the location, but the sign doesn't tell you for what do they want to build? What are the implications of this thing being built? When is it going to happen? Just all these specific information pieces, but the person who filed the variance has to put that on record. So the idea behind this, like this chatbot, is that you would text this number and say, hey, I have a question about a zoning sign or something. And the bot would ask you, you know, where it was, you know, is it like what I think is the signs, what's the address, what's the type of sign, is it a tree ordinance, is it a variance, is it zoning, is it whatever, you know, tell me all the information that you see on the sign, and then it would kind of package that into an email and send it to a person who could then be the designated person to look this stuff up for you, because it can be daunting and difficult. And then they would just send you an email back a day later and say, okay, here's what I found on this variance notice. And then here's who you talk to about it, if you want to talk to somebody about it. And the thing I like in general about these like SMS text messaging bots is that anybody with a phone can use one, anyone with a phone that texts. It's not a complicated like smartphone app. It's not a Facebook Messenger chat bot. It's like the easiest way to, you know, engage with people. And I like that access to information. So now I'm going to talk about stuff other people made, because I'm really good at naming slides. So the first one is a directory site that I like called Blacks Who Design. And it is a directory with contact information of hundreds of designers of color, art directors, CEOs, all kinds of developers, everything. And it was created by a team of designers meant to solve the problem when recruiters would say like, oh, I just couldn't find any designers of color for my team because I just didn't know of any. Well, here they are. They're all right here. Here's how to get in touch with them. Here's what their specialty is. Oops, you know, you don't get to have that as an excuse any longer. Sorry about it. You know, and this was a really, this website was built on a framework called Gatsby. So they did use code to make it, but we'll talk about that. But this project was covered by NBC, Fortune Magazine, Afrotech. You know, since it's not my project, I can't see what the metrics are on it. I can't see what their traffic was, but I can see that 2,000 sites link back to it. So that could be, you know, recruiters, other designers, news articles, like that is sort of what I would consider to be the reach. And that's really good. This is a really impactful project. And then similarly, this is a few years earlier. This is a website called Women Who Draw. It's very similar in that it's a directory with contact information, a small portfolio. This is made on WordPress. So it's, you know, still a little bit more advanced than the average internet user, but we'll talk about that. And this site was covered by Vogue, New York Times, HuffPost, Slate, Bust, a lot of other news articles. And since it's older, it's been around a little bit longer, but I can see that 23,000 sites link back to it. So it's nothing to just, you know, thumb your nose at. It's a really cool thing. So what you could use for both of these would be, we have some Airtable fans in the chat, would be Airtable. Airtable again is like Google, it's like Google Sheets, but it does some really interesting different things. It has a form, like a form feature, so you could submit directly to someone's Airtable, and then you can set it up so that entries aren't live until you approve them. You know, so You can either have it as a spreadsheet that's sortable, groupable, like I want to group by different specialties or locations. I want to sort by different types of things, like you can do sorting, you can do grouping. And this directory feature in particular is really cool because this is just a view. This is basically a spreadsheet as a view. So you can add like a header image if it's like a designer or artist portfolio. You can make it your lead image, and then you can also add contact information and everything someone needs to know. It's basically what those other two websites are, but free. So that's really cool, and you can just do it yourself. So this is a project called GIRLGAZE. It's essentially a platform for women and non-binary creatives to network, to find work. Creatives can apply to the site and have their profiles on the site for free, but companies pay to have access to this listing. So it's like curated in that way. And it's hard to see how many people are on here, but I think it's like it's in the hundreds of people. Similar to Airtable, it's like sortable. I can look for illustrators based in New York or designers based in Arkansas. Like I can sort and search, and there's featured and there's activity. And so for this, they do have what they call like a proprietary system through WordPress, but you can also create this through Squarespace. Squarespace does feature like members only content that requires you to sign up and pay. And then there's lots of different templates that will give you like a directory feature. You could make a business doing this, just creating this resource for whatever it is you want to catalog. And so this one's kind of interesting. I've seen variations on this project over time, but this is definitely the most recent one. Online shopping is like pretty innocuous, right? But for survivors of intimate partner violence, this could be a game changer. This is a project from, I think, 2019 by a Romanian Girl Scout, which is why I don't understand what these words mean, besides chamomile and pansies. So what she did is she created this, it's like fake online storefront through Facebook pages. So anybody who wanted to reach out for help could message this like page, this business, and instead of talking to a salesperson, they would talk to a registered psychologist. The psychologist would ask how long the skin problems have been going on for, how the skin problems react to alcohol, a lot of like very innocuous kind of safe language for this person to reach out and ask for help if they need it. And if a person ended up placing an order with this business and gave an address, that would be a signal for authorities to come to their home. And this could be just a really incredible resource. The only downside of this is I read about this in BBC. It was covered by like every major news publication. And so this is one of those things that if it's supposed to be kind of secretive, maybe don't let the news cover it. But you know what I mean? I just think this is a really cool project. So the Chicago Zine Fest maintains this thing called the Zinester Directory. So this is actually a link on their homepage. It catalogs 229 zinesters from all over the world, I believe. I think it's mostly US based, but they do have people from other countries. And the way this works is people who make zines, whether that's a team or an individual, they fill out this form. And then, there's some sort of approval process that happens, and then they will be added to this directory. So this is the directory that Chicago Zine Fest refers to and pulls from. If I'm looking for zines that I want to buy, like this is the list that I would go to, people for collaborations, and just having everybody in one place is just really, really important. And then this is the like big artist opportunities list created and maintained by a designer named Everest Pipkin. So the way this works is this is residencies, grant funding for artists, galleries, any kind of artist opportunity that people should know about. It includes the location, the name of the thing, a link to it, any sort of like about or application information. And then this is a really good place to go to if you're interested in finding grant funding for your art or for your project. And this one is sort of curious. Instead of a Google form, what they do here is they have a public Google sheet that this Google sheet links to. And And so I guess it's like anybody can put an item in the Google Sheet, and then I guess Everest will pick good ones, curate it in some sort of way, and put it in the big list. But the uncurated list is also a really cool way to just see recently posted stuff. And also, by the way, in the top right of all of these slides are links to all the things, and I can send links to the things later. Just FYI. So real quick, I talked about 2 projects that are based in Google Docs, and you might be here going, why? I'm here for a field trip on Google Docs. I know Google Docs. What are you talking about? Somewhere along the past like 5, 6 years or so, Google Docs became an incredibly powerful tool for organizing. The Philadelphia Inquirer in 2019 said that it was the most significant organizing tool was a Google spreadsheet containing thousands of anonymous museum workers' salary. People were able to use this spreadsheet to negotiate raises, change their entire departments, and just maintain good wage transparency for this industry. In 2017, the cut mentioned the unexpected power of Google Doc activism, specifically since in the years after the 2016 election. It went on to say that shared documents are ideal for collecting resources in one place quickly and easily without gatekeepers because they're free and they're easy to use. If I'm starting a Facebook group and no one's joining it and I want to, build awareness for it or something, I have to buy ads. They're always changing the numbers on the ads. It just becomes this weird thing lost in their ecosystem. And this article says that one of the most interesting things about Google Docs in particular is that it allows people to, first of all, reach beyond their immediate networks because you can just share the link anywhere, but it also helps people avoid abuse and trolling that comes with publishing on other platforms. Your Google Doc is private. Nobody can trace it back to you unless you put information about yourself on there. People can access it anonymously. You can't get their information from their submission. And it's just a very important tool, especially in times like these. So a couple of Google Docs in particular projects that I just want to highlight because I think they're awesome. This is a project called the Virtual Mall by Andrew Camphy from 2018 or so. And this is what it looks like. It's not around anymore. People ruined it. But the idea here is that it's an openly accessible Google spreadsheet where anybody who sells anything could go and they could put an image, put the link, change their cells, kind of design their little storefront. And then this Google spreadsheet was available to anybody who wanted to buy anything. From a design perspective, I love that it's super chaotic. It makes you want to explore everything and all the cool pictures. Apparently, it was taken down because people uploaded stuff that was against Google's terms and conditions. So bad people ruined the good times on this one. But a few years later, this designer made a new one. And this time you have to get approval before you can join. But it's a virtual mall. And I also like that it's set up like, just like any sort of standard mall. It starts with a parking lot like they all do. And then each level, so these are tabs in the Google spreadsheet. Each level of the spreadsheet is like its own stall. So I would guess that the elevator is like a kind of a directory of all the different levels, but then you can like explore different floors and see what's up, go to links. This mall in particular is for newsletters. So if you're like shopping for a cool newsletter to subscribe to, then this could be the place for that. And this is what level 3 looks like. It's more toned down, but maybe easier to navigate for some of us. This is a interesting project I found by an artist named Anthony Smith. This is, if you remember those like choose your own adventure Goosebumps books, or just any books from the 90s, where you would like turn to a page and look at the number and then go to the next page. This is basically that in Google Docs format. So you would play different parts and each one would give you, so you can like click on it, and then each one would give you some sort of part of the story. It'd be an image, it would be storytelling, and then you would choose which direction to go into next. Each one is not it's not like a table of contents where I could just read through the whole thing and then decide, like see what I was missing out on. Each one takes you to a whole other Google Doc. So I would never be able to see what the other directions led to unless I followed them. I have no idea how many Google Docs make up this project, probably 100. This was very in depth when I looked at it. And then this is a collective booklet for computational women. So this is a Google spreadsheet. You can't even recognize it's Google spreadsheets at this point because it's so colorful and beautiful looking. But the idea here is that it's a spreadsheet to keep track of and highlight women programmers. So it's like a no-code way to highlight coders. Pretty cool. For example, anyone could request a tab. They would make their own page, and then you can kind of tab through and look at all the people on the list. So this is an example of a developer named Pauline. This is what her page looks like. And then this is a spreadsheet of Black-owned farms and gardens, which is really cool. This 2020 Healthline article specifically outlines the work that Black-owned agricultural institutions can do in their communities, but it's a short article. It only lists 6. There are 318 places on this list, and an article just can't possibly list them all. So what this spreadsheet does is it includes the name, the region, the state, like specifically where it's located. I like that they're highlighted so you can quickly scroll through and just see which one is near to you. It includes their Instagram handle, a link to their website, their Instagram, phone number, contact information. This is all in one place, and this makes this information accessible. All right, it's 8:35. It's your turn. What we're going to do now is we're going to do 15 minutes to do breakout rooms, like small groups of like 5 or 6 or so. I want you guys to think of what your community, physical or virtual, whether that's next door or online, could benefit from, and then come back and let us know. And before you're like, wait a minute, that's way too big of a question to do in 15 minutes, I'm also going to give you some ideas to brainstorm. So this could be resource lists, directories, mutual aid, small business support, guides, opportunities, interactive experiences, games, stuff like that. Just anything that might make sense to the community that you're trying to help. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drop this link. It's a Google product. I'm going to drop this link in the chat. So what this is a Google Slides document where there's information in the slide as well. But what I want you to do is use this as your worksheet. So everybody who's working on one can see what other people are saying. You can kind of click through and see people's answers, but I just want you to focus on your worksheet for now. And then when we come back in 15 minutes, we can see if a couple people want to talk about their idea, and then all of the other ideas will be available for you to kind of scroll through after this field trip. So let me drop the link in the chat. And
cool.
Right there.
So we have several rooms of 5. We have 6 rooms of 5-ish. Some have a little bit more. It's 8:37 on the East Coast. Sarah, first of all, amazing, inspiring words. Thank you so much so far. Yeah, we're getting lots of applause, lots of hearts. It's great. And I love that you're in the presentation. I may have taken a few screenshots of this. Super excited. It's fantastic. New skills. So you want us to come back at 8:50-ish? 10, so it's a little less than 15 minutes. Sound good? Cool. If anyone has any issues, please add us in the chat and we will come to you. But the rooms are open. Please head to your breakout rooms and get started. All right, we are coming back from our breakout rooms. How'd it go? Any highlights so far? Anyone wants to share as we wait?
So these are some of the resources I talked about this evening. We have Google Docs, Google Sheets, Airtable, Textit, Squarespace, Zapier. I'm actually going to go ahead and drop my email in the chat really quick in case you want a copy of these slides or you have questions. Just as like a thing to let you guys know this evening, if you like this workshop and my very strange way of talking, I'm actually launching an e-course on design for non-designers, and kind of in this way with the no code workshop where just like design is for everybody. And so like here is the stuff that you need to know if you're not a designer or a web developer. kind of like what are file formats and how does the internet work and how does color palettes work and all kinds of stuff like that. The link is at the top right, and you can save 15% with this promo code CM15. Just an FYI. Also, there are a lot of different Google Docs projects I didn't get to mention this evening just because there are so many and a lot of them are kind of similar and I didn't want to just keep going through the same thing. There are these 4 and these 2. And if you want additional reading on just the incredible power of these kind of resource documents, there are 4 links that you can read that I can also send out. So yeah, if you want to just, I don't know, thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited. I'm just like getting distracted because I'm looking through everybody's answers in Google Slides and I'm just extremely stoked. So thank you so much for coming this evening, y'all. I'm just really, really grateful.
Thank you, Sarah. And I know we're at time. You're getting lots of applause and heart emojis. And if anybody wants to stay on, do you have like 5 or so minutes for Q&A?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I can hang out all night. Not all night.
That could be dangerous.